the next book that I'm going to do after this spy book, I'm not going to do the third book of my heroic trilogy. I'm going to do probably a small book that'll probably be only 100, 120,000 words. And it's going to be on this pro wrestler named Gorgeous George from the 1940s or 50s. I've never done the 1940s or 50s as a whole book, but the thing that I'm going to do is it's going to be told, the main narrative is going to be told from the perspective of his second wife in a short, brief period of his life. He only lived like 45, 50 years, 1915, no, 48 years. So just under 50 years. And it's going to be in the late 40s to maybe early 50s when he was the star of television. I mean, pro wrestling, before sitcoms came along in the late 40s, the first 4 or 5 years of television were basically just local newscasts, Uncle Milty kind of crap, and Milton Berle, sort of variety shows, and a few game shows and pro wrestling. So Gorgeous George was a name. I mean, he was on par with a Tom Cruise today in terms of when people talk about name. This guy was, and he was never a big champion in any of the wrestling things, but he was the first guy who put on wrestling and played a character, a bad guy. He played this narcissistic, quasi feminine male character, and it's interesting. And so I'm going to have the main narrative be narrated by his wife, but there's going to be no conversations in it. And I'm going to have 12 to 15 or 20 conversations that are going to be called mirrors. And the mirrors will be when George actually speaks in the first person talking to someone. For example, he famously gave advice to Cassius Clay on how to basically be an asshole to get people to come pay. And other people, he was friends with Bob Hope and other people. So there's another example where I'm in the books. I'm always trying to do something different so that I'm not doing the same thing. I'll have long, deep character conversations in that book, but if there's going to be the pull between the narrative being told by his second wife, wherein we're not going to know what George is thinking, we're only going to see her version of him, and then the times when we see George, but we're only going to see him in specific context in conversations with other people.